Okay, let's go. What were you saying about tea bags, Dom?
That was the most. There's no organic. I was saying I read something. Well, I just saw something that they spray plastic like tea bags that you put in your tea.
Mm.
Plastic, so the bags don't rip throughout the process. All those microplastics come off in hot water.
Is that all tea bags?
All the ones you actually soak your tea in, yeah.
But you've got some like silk pouch ones.
Yeah, but
Ones
certain
that
I
things
would
have
have
to.
thought
like
they
silk
were the more
pouches.
likely, the silk pouch ones.
Maybe I don't know what type of ones
because the
do
paper
it, but
ones break.
yeah, but they to a certain extent. You think about
I guess so.
when they've been
Paper
put in
would
there, sealed,
disintegrate.
gone through the process of going in a box, and then this and that travelled. And I
Wow.
mean, sometimes you see little bags at the bottom that obviously, or that's leaked. You know,
Yeah.
But
So what's the alternative?
Or
Buy
you're not
loose
drinking
tea.
anymore,
Granules,
you're
I
getting
guess.
No, loose tea.
yeah, but that's how do the thing you do by
So,
yourself.
well, no, like I've got like a teapot that
So-
has the strainers. So you put the tea
Oh,
in
it
the
just holds
middle.
in it.
Yeah, and you don't have to strain it.
Yeah,
from
it's
there.
Yeah.
But loose tea, at least you know there's no.
Would you drink coffee, innit?
Yeah,
I'm drinking coffee now.
you're drinking coffee now.
I'm
wow.
trying to. Yeah,
Coffee?
Yeah.
I don't drink caffeine, full stop. I drink Rooibos.
Nice, is alright, you know.
No,
It's
caffeine's
okay.
not good
Single
for you.
shot
Especially
latte,
when
oat
you,
milk.
yeah, especially when you need
Why
to
have you
wake me up.
started
No,
drinking
'cause
coffee
my friend
at your
converted me.
age?
My friend loves coffee, and he was like, "Just try this. It's alright." Because he just loves the taste of coffee. Like
Yeah.
you can have espresso. He had espresso before gym.
Oh
and all
wow,
that. I'm not there, but
will
it's
that
like
give you a buzz?
yeah, like. But when I had it in the morning, I was just like, you literally feel it just
You
wake
do,
you
well,
up.
especially because you're not used to
Yeah,
drinking it.
more than
you're
tea.
gonna-
Literally, like when you water a flower, you see it just start right. Yeah, literally. I was like, oh wow. But yeah,
That's
slowly.
probably good.
Well, I don't drink it. I think this is my first one this month.
Some people as
Every
well,
now
they
and then.
just can't drink it in the evening because they'll be awake for
I've got my peppermint tea.
I'm also to wake me up for
yeah.
recording.
Shall I
I
read
know.
you some of the questions
Yeah,
that we've
Yeah,
been
go
asked?
ahead.
So
Yeah,
that,
go ahead.
rather than talking about tea. Yeah. Okay.
You drink your plastic tea.
Mm.
I like my peppermint tea.
Mm.
Okay, so we've got a few questions here. Should I just read all of them and then we can just choose one to
Yeah.
start talking about? Okay, so we've got here. So we asked the question, what topics would you like us to discuss or cover? So one was someone said they'd like healthy boundaries in relationships and family. Someone else.
Should we just talk about them as you read them? So healthy boundaries.
Okay.
Healthy boundaries in.
I think boundaries are really important
I think
because
boundaries is a really good
it's
topic
necessary.
for family.
In
Yeah.
family. I think
Yeah.
I think you never know where to establish those things until
Mm.
certain things arise, and it's hard. It is hard, especially if you're a family that's close
Yeah.
to. Like us, I guess we are very close in terms
We've
of
got no boundaries.
everything. It's like
no boundaries.
the lines are very blurred in terms of just everything.
We talk to each other a lot. I know that for me, when I first got married, marrying someone who wasn't from that same network or family,
Quite daunting,
he
isn't it?
found it quite overwhelming because he's like, you're
our
not,
family.
well, just the amount of the volume of times we speak to each other. So,
Okay.
for example, I could speak to Dad like literally 5 times in a day. That's probably a basic average.
Yeah, more like 15.
more like 15. And for him, he could go like 3 weeks and not speak to his mom.
Oh wow.
So for him, he was like, what on earth is this? Like, I think he was really shocked at first. And obviously culturally, like, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm in the middle of dinner or whatever, I would answer my phone. If it was you or Dad or any member of my family, if it was someone else, I'd ignore it. But if my phone rang during dinner or being out, I'd answer it, even if it was just to say, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
And he thought that was quite rude. And so I guess one of the boundaries that we established is I'm not going to not speak to my family,
Yeah.
but when it's dinner time or whatever, it's okay to wait till dinner's finished and then call your family back. Which when we first got married, I was like, what are you talking about? It's my dad. Like, why am I gonna like you if you don't like it, then you can go somewhere else, whatever. And
So
now
you girls, I feel like all you women do that, and then in hindsight, you go away and you think about the whole thing a little bit, and then it's like, oh, maybe I could do less of this and.
Well, I
Yes.
think
But when
I
you
think
got,
for me, I don't trust anyone. I think everyone's established that on this podcast now. And so I think for me, I was always very much guarded. Obviously, when Jason married me, he took me to Australia. So I was like, I'm never going to be that girl that you isolate. So I think I was a bit more protective over if he would say that there was a boundary to put in place. I was like, listen, I've watched movies where, the girl ends up where she sees her
Murdered.
family and then you beat her and no one knows, whatever. Because at the end of the day, I didn't know him to be vouching for him. Like, we'd never lived together. And so for me, I knew that, listen, you can knock your head and lose your mind. I need my village, regardless of what. And so I think I kind of went into marriage, and I think whether I lived here or not, I always would have gone into marriage with that, and I still do. And I think a lot of people don't do that. It's like you and them against the world, and I think that's when the devastation comes afterwards, when the relationship ends, and then you look around and I don't have any family anymore. I don't have any friends because I've spent the 10 years just pushing them away. And so I think
when you need them, you've already made them get used to.
Well, people move on. If you're never available, I don't think it's because people don't love you. I think after a while they'll just.
Well, you put
leave
a
you
boundary.
to it. They'll stop
You
inviting
put
you
this
to
invisible
things.
boundary in. But there's other boundaries. Like there was a girl that she was married to this guy, and his best friend was a female. And so they got married, and it was something they talked about, and he actually refused to give up his best friend who was female, so they couldn't, things like that I think has to be discussed. Well, I would say discuss it even before you got married, because if my husband's best friend is a female, we're going to have a problem.
No, but I think to be honest, that's immature.
What?
I think no, because I think it's immature in the sense of some women would be absolutely fine with you having a best friend. So I don't want a blanket answer, but I think that for me, the rule in any relationship is if it makes me uncomfortable, that's when you need to listen to.
Sometimes you find that in the moment. I don't know if you've seen that video of John. What's his name? The guy that he's dating Megan Good. He was in the Marvel films. What's his name? You wait for that whole.
Oh yes, yeah. The black guy, the girl.
Yeah.
The girl saying that he hit her.
His name's John.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But it's he was with Megan Good at a venue, or not venue, outside somewhere, and then that what's that light skin actor with the green eyes?
Oh yeah.
She was in Why Did I Get Married Too?
Yeah.
So when he saw
is it
Megan
Cuba
Good,
no.
Ely or something.
Oh
Ely.
yes, I know which one. Yeah.
When he saw Megan, like he grabbed her, like swung her around, like look at you, I seen ages. And John's just on the side, like next to her, like you can't grab my wife and just swing her around in the air. Like it's so awkward when you watch the video. It's like and then it's like shakes his hand after, and then shakes this guy's hand or whatever. And then it's just like, mate, I don't care what friend you got. If you pick you up and swing you might swing you and dash you that way because you don't come back right. You let a man pick you up and swing you, you're like holding your hat in the air.
But there's
boundaries, man. You can't be doing
I know, but usually that what we always say is it's very difficult for men and women to be like, especially when you're talking in marriage. The question then arises: can opposites be like best friends? I think that was a question we used to talk about, and it turns out that even though at the beginning he's seeing her as his best friend, but she saw him differently, so he refused to give up the best friend for his new wife, and needless to say, he ended up leaving. It broke his marriage. Wow. And he ended up going with this best friend. So she obviously had feelings for him, and he didn't establish that boundary. It was for him to say to this girl, my wife now is priority, and I have to take into consideration her feelings. And so when you're talking about healthy boundaries, you have to, because sometimes your family's cool, but it's those outside of family relationships that you may need to, because some guys, it's like, oh, my mates, we go football, we do this and we do that. Well, the boundaries change when you commit to an individual.
Yeah, but I think as well, like, boundaries don't always have to mean that something bad's going to happen. Like, I think sometimes as well, it's just what it could look like. I don't know if you remember when Jason was going to the cinema with one of my very good friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So
like, what are you doing?
We were driving in the car, and Jason was on speakerphone, and he said that he was going to cinema, but that obviously the first time I was hearing about it was when he said it. And so Mum was in the car, and she phoned him afterwards and basically said absolutely not.
Yeah, what
and
on earth
the
are you
person
doing?
he was going to the cinema with, I trust with my life. Like, I think she's a really, really lovely person, and she's a really, really nice girl, and I would never actually think that anything could happen. But like, one of the things that I explained to him afterwards is, your wife's not in the country. You know, someone bumps into you, it's just the two of you at the cinema. You shouldn't have to explain a situation. And I think that with boundaries, and I want to put that out there, because, you know, for people like, oh, well, you know, there never ever would be, and I think that's what a lot of guys do. Well, there never would be, so what's the problem? It's what it looks like and how it makes the other person feel.
Well, it's not just what it looks like, because, you know, we're going to be married 50 years next year, April, and so we've seen it all, and it's very difficult. And what people don't often realize is that you may not intend to get into a relationship with somebody in that scenario, but what people don't realize is the webs that you're forming just from being in each other's company. You get more comfortable with each other, you begin to share more about yourself, and, you know, that opening up. And they say that most affairs are not intentional. It's just where people are spending, and, you know, more and more time together, because you suddenly, it goes in levels. And even, you know, where people may not even find each other attractive, it's where that time, you know, I've seen so many affairs happen that you're like, how on earth did that happen? But it's that time of building webs, forming webs, making connections, and suddenly that girl may feel, well, I can talk to Dominic.
I can call him anytime.
I could call him at any time. And I've had that, you know, where girls would call our house and I'd answer the phone. I'm like, how are you? Oh, they're all chirpy. Can I speak to you, speak to my husband? And when he gets on the phone, it's like, they're crying, and it's this whole emotional trip. And, you know, can you come round, you know? And I'm thinking, what was that? When I answered, you were chirpy, you were fine. When he gets on the phone, you're playing this whole emotional thing. And guys don't know what to do with that a lot of the time. So you can imagine, you know, someone calls, like one of Deisha's friend, and then you feel like, I can't just.
Dominic's like, I had to phone back to her.
These guys your friend.
Yeah. But some guys.
I guess it might not be. I don't know if that's the same situation, because if it's her, was it your friend that's calling you, or was it?
It was a mutual acquaintance.
Okay.
It wasn't his friend or my friend.
Calling me, I'm not. You gotta go check if they're right. It's like, what am I doing that? It's like, if you want to go check on your friend, go check on your friend.
Well, I guess because of the roles that we're in.
I guess so, where you're both sort of.
We're in that role of, you know, if people phone and they want help, you know, so we're not in that ordinary relationship, but because of what we do, you know, that's that. They're exploiting that opening, so to speak.
I think going back to relationships, I think that I think a lot of people, where they struggle the most, I think that, you know, the normal person that doesn't have any agenda will lock off the male friend or the female friend or whatever. Anyone else is just in denial. I think the place where most people struggle with boundaries is with family, with like mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, mums, dads. I think brothers, sisters. I think that's a lot harder to manage and to navigate, because number one, you can't just get rid of your mum, or you can't just get rid of your dad, and
it depends as well on the parents. You know how, like, we don't like get into you guys' business. You know, if you come to us, obviously we're here. But I had a mother-in-law that had certain things that she was used to, and he, you know, my husband had a sister who was used to him doing all of this stuff for them. So when I came along and his attention was diverted to me, they didn't take it very well. So when, you know, they saw it was going to marriage, they did everything to try and break us up, because they didn't want him to be, you know, his mum got insecure about him buying me clothes or anything, because he would do that for her, but suddenly it's like I'm in the picture now, and suddenly it's like now I'm this competition. So he had to establish boundaries, which it affected his relationship with his family.
That it's really important that the person who is the direct contact is the one that establishes the boundary. I think where the conflict arises is where the other person has to step in and overstep you almost because you're refusing to
deal with
or whatever. And even like, you know, like if, for example, Jason had called you guys in the example I gave and been like, you know, you don't need to be calling Sarah, whatever, that would have created a huge conflict. Does that make sense? But by me going, okay, I'm listening to what you're saying, if we're at dinner or whatever, then I won't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Like, it depends on, you know, if it's a serious dinner or whatever, then I need to be present, then I won't pick up my phone. I'll call back later. But if I hadn't taken that and made it a thing, then it can become a huge problem. Well, there was that time,
you know, we were at dinner, we'd gone out to dinner, we were sitting down in a restaurant, and we took a phone call from you, and Ezra had got the front door open and it disappeared. So that was like,
and that's what I explained to him, that for me, you know, it's very difficult with our family because we speak so often. You know, that one time that
like,
you...
Why didn't you answer?
Like, remember when I called you that time in the middle of the night when someone was trying to break into the house?
Exactly.
You know, that was like, what time was it? Like 4 a.m?
It was probably like 2 or, whatever time it was.
Do you get what I mean? Obviously.
No, it was around 4 because I remember you text me to check the cameras to see what time... You know, did I close the gate? Because I remember that was the time we saw the gate opening. Couldn't see no one. It was like 4 a.m. in the morning. The gates are opening.
And at that point, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's not appropriate.
I don't want to
disturb Dominic. I don't want to disturb Dominic. He's with his wife.
I think there's certain roles which, and even then, Tisha's like, go, like. Because it's one, I think, what I was going to, I'll go back to what I was going to say with what you was talking about with dad and your mother-in-law, but I think there's certain roles that you got to understand as either a brother or a father, you still have. If someone's breaking into a house, you can be like, can't she get someone else? Like, not anyone that's going to be like that. It's a bit like,
we were at the country.
That literally no one's in the country.
Who was there?
Only me. I'm the closest one to the house. But even what you were saying is, in terms of boundaries, I think when you, as a son or a brother, you feel that the husband role is when it sort of gets, the lines are blurred. Like if you're buying stuff and every minute, you know, I need this picture put up as a his sister, or I need food shopping, can you take me to the shops? And
I need a lift. You need to drop me here. It was all of those things, and I think that was a role that they.
It's like then you're taking something away because it's a routine that they have.
But I think whatever it is, like we said, like whatever it is, it needs to be both parties are in agreement. So, for example, the wife may be like, you know what, I'm actually happy to take your mum. Do you get what I mean? Like, I think that it has to be whatever it's decided.
I think certain situations you can't get that agreement because they were never going to agree.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think that where it becomes a problem, because we're talking about boundaries in families, I think where it becomes a problem is we both are not in agreement for whatever reason. And I think that there needs to be a rule. I think I heard your dad say it, that if you can't agree, then it gets taken off the table. It's not now, well, you're not accepting what I'm saying, so I'm going to go do it anyway. I think that there has to be a level of, okay, we can't come to an agreement on this.
Take it off the table, like.
So for me, take it off the table means that if, for example, let's give an example. I know someone that was financially supporting his mother for a very long time, and that was impacting on their financial situation as a family. And the wife was obviously like, we can't afford to do this. And the husband's like, well, my mum wants me to do this. Then you take it off the table, and then it's like, well, then we're not going to do anything until we can both sit down and say, we'll give £10 a month, or we'll give £20 a month, or whatever. But I think that it shouldn't be where it's like, well, the other person has to kind of just deal, because I'm going to go ahead and keep doing what I want to do anyway, because I'm not willing to have the awkward conversation.
That's what I was just asking about take off the table is, because some people it's like, if I'm like, what did you say, for example, just now? If you're paying for your mother,
yeah. So if you're paying for your mom or whatever,
so if take it off the table is like, we're not doing it until we figure it out.
Yeah.
Some people may see that as you're already like, whatever the wife just said. You know what I mean? If she's just told you like, we can't afford to do it, he's like, well, I've been doing this for however many years for my mum. She depends on it. And he said, we'll take it off the table. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like,
because she's got used to that support. And I get that, you know, where that support, they've got used to that support. And it's kind of cold and hard to just remove it, blunt. I think in situations like that is to then have that conversation with mom, because I've seen.
That's what I'm saying. That's where the problem comes, when the other person is not willing, and that's what I went back to. It makes it so much easier if the person who has that direct contact, where the argument's going to come is where she's been saying, and you've not been having that conversation. But
I've seen a lot of guys, they won't have that conversation with the mom, and it will cause that conflict. I've seen it where that conflict is there. And, you know, and I think it's unfair that you would put that on a young person, but there are many examples where I've seen where the mother is relying on the son, even knowing that he's having to neglect some of his bills to pay her mortgage or to support her financially.
I think that's a difficult one, because I think in that instance, if I was the wife, for example, I would look at the need. So I think that, you know, it's his mom and you respect his mom. I would say, like, is this a genuine thing? Because there's a difference between financially supporting someone just because there's an expectation and she just wants to get her new weave done every 2 weeks, or she literally is a widow, she doesn't have a husband, she's a single mom, like she can't work, she's got a disability or whatever. I think also we can't be so stingent in our, or stringent, or whichever the word is, in our, you know, well, I don't like that, you know, at the end of the day, like, I think the conversation, and I think that this is it, like, I think that if it's a conversation, we can go somewhere with that. If you're telling me what you're going to do and you don't invite me into that, that's when it's going to be a problem, because as a wife, it affects me, and I think that needs to be the rule. If it's going to affect me, I should be part of the conversation. And so what we may say is, okay, do you know what? We don't need the whole Sky package for £83. Does that make sense? Like, we'll do the basic
before
one.
We even get into marriage, I think these are some of the pertinent information to be gathered.
But to be honest, I don't think you would. I don't think I don't think with boundaries all the time it's always clear, because some mothers don't switch till you take on the ring.
But putting it out there, it's good for people to arm themselves with this information, that if there is anything like that, let's talk about it. I know you're not going to catch everything in the courtship, but I think, you know, for me, it was your dad dealt with that. It wasn't anything. I was not saying, you know, don't do that for your mom. In fact, I'd encourage him. And there are times where we would take her together and we'd take her to the shops, or she needed stuff, we'd go and get it for her. But it was not as frequent, because he was always readily available, because he didn't have anyone else like that he was committed to, that all of a sudden now he's got to balance his time. But the problem that she had was him dividing that time now with me.
Well, there was I think with parents, for any parents watching, I think that you have to be able to transition with your child just the same way in marriage. You have to be able to transition through every season. And I don't know if you've seen Love is Blind UK. I was
literally about to bring this up.
So huge red flag.
It's actually funny though, because Sorry, go on.
Is that an old movie or is it?
No,
It's a series of where people.
Yeah.
I'll explain the foundation of it. Basically, it's like all these single people. They want to get married. They want to find someone, but it's behind. Like Cedar Black.
Oh, I think I've seen that. You've got to get engaged with them.
Yeah, well, you don't have to.
I saw the advert where you're.
It's basically behind the screen.
Proposing to
you have conversations with people for weeks.
Okay.
So they're all in that. There's a guys.
But you don't know what they look like.
You have no idea what they look like, but you know what they do. You know everything about them. So this is it's kind of weird for me. Like, imagine falling in love for someone.
I don't think it's weird.
And then when you see them, it's like if you're not attracted to them.
No, but I think that it depends. I think that the
like
whole
you love
argument,
their personality.
Yeah, but I think the whole argument is what makes someone attractive, you know, and I think that I don't think it's weird at all.
But
I mean, you know, engagement's very different. Like, I understand the going on a date afterwards based on the fact that now, but to marry you, like, I've got to give birth to your children, like there's a lot at stake here.
Like the black girl, after she said yes to that guy,
she was like, not feeling it at all.
You knew
like, the minute.
It was so like you could tell the awkwardness sometimes.
It was so awkward. Like she was like checked out from the beginning.
That guy was.
But anyway, back to the thing. So basically, they go on. They speak for each other. They actually genuinely fall in love through just an emotional connection. Like these are hours and hours of conversations or whatever. And then, and so they have to come out. They obviously meet each other for the first time, and then they go on holiday. They basically put them in different scenarios where they test now whether this can last in the real world. And so one of the tests is obviously meeting each other's families. So this one guy meets the mom, and she's basically like, my daughter's my best friend. She needs to tell me everything, absolutely everything. And the daughter's like, well, I'm not going to come to you for everything if I'm married. Like, if we're going to have an argument or whatever, I'm not going to necessarily say, oh, because it will change the way that you see him. And she's like, no, you need to tell me everything. Oh, wow. And that's pretty much.
You finished it now?
No.
Oh, I don't remember which one that was.
Yeah, it's the one before. They haven't released the next ones.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so she's
all the way to the end.
So, but I was like, that's a huge red flag because 100%, obviously that put me
off.
That's like
your mom's your best friend. All right, fair enough, but he tell you everything. It's like,
but then that's gonna affect her one way or another because if the mum doesn't actually transition with her daughter, then it's gonna end up being where she actually ends up where she's loses her or the daughter's gonna lose her relationship because it's just not realistic. And I think boundaries in relationships need to be where it's a boundary for a reason. Like if you think about your house at the moment, you know, you have your garden and that fence around. Imagine if all the fences were taken down. You'd have neighbours arguing non-stop over, no, this is mine. No, you're in mine, whatever. When we put a fence up,
that's
it
a really
keeps
good example because
you know what's yours. And
what's yours. This is yours. This is where you stop. This is where I start.
You've got lines in the road so that you know this is my boundary. I stay in this
lane. Invite you in.
The moment you ignore that boundary, you have an accident. And you know, there are even with relationships where, you know, single parents, and probably a lot of the times I see with single mums and their son, where that boundary is blurred, those lines are blurred, and it's like the woman becomes this so dependent on the son, and you're setting yourself up to be hurt.
I've seen it as well though, like that where they almost make their son, especially when they have like one son. Yeah. It's like they make it very
like world. You're my whole world.
I've seen where they sort of fulfill that husband role in certain sense.
Yeah.
Even like when they do that, when they do like, you know, like pictures together, and then they'll do like
when they'll do the son and the mom.
Just like there's things that she wants.
She's almost like coupling with him.
Yeah, it's all, you get a weird vibe about it.
It's weird.
Oh, is it this one where they dance together?
What?
Okay, carry on.
No, we're just like
in
scenario.
I saw one the other day and they like dance together.
But there are lots of relationships like that. So then the mum sees any female that comes into his life as a threat, and
but okay, so who do you think is responsible for setting that boundary then?
Well,
it's hard to say because the mother's, that's obviously developed over time of him growing. If he's
grown up with that,
that's not his fault.
No,
that's all he's known.
He thinks that's a norm.
Exactly.
But the minute that someone tells you it's not,
but it's nothing you can just be like, okay, then if I don't do that,
okay, all right. Let's put it this way: if you lived in an apartment your whole life,
yeah,
and then you move to a house, and you got a garden, you're going to adjust, right? You're not going to be like, I'm not going to go outside because I'm not used to going outside.
For example, right? I don't know if you've seen Count of Monte Cristo, right?
Yeah.
And then he was living in the prison for how long?
Yeah.
Got this big, found the jewels, the money, had a big castle. You're still sleeping on the floor, right?
Yeah.
In there. So it takes time to adjust.
It does.
It's not a thing where...
And sometimes you don't know it's weird until somebody else puts a spin on it. Because if that's all you've known, and this is the pattern that you've lived by, where, you know, the mum almost treats you like you're a husband, and you know, and it's just a weird place. So that boy's grown up, for example, with that relationship, thinking, oh, you know, this is normal. And then you suddenly, because sometimes you don't realize something's weird until you see another version, and you're thinking that's...
Yeah, I think there's a part of you has to step out of yourself and look at a certain situation.
And it goes the other way sometimes, where the boy is like, I don't want anything to do with her, and...
Who, the mum?
Yeah, because it's just...
yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, that's your mother. She's literally birthed you, raised you. And for you to be like, I can't do this for you anymore, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, especially if she sacrificed a lot for you to in life, it's hard for you to be like... And some mums will tell you, after everything I've done for you...
I wouldn't expect Ezra to financially support me.
Yes, but it's a different scenario.
That's for the mother. I mean, I would
expect to be in a position to help them, not the other way around.
But that's normal. So for us, it's like, or for me, I'm not going to put that kind of demand or put myself in that position. And you said, who's to set the boundaries? It would be me to set the boundaries. I don't make...
But you are both speaking from mothers that have husbands.
Yeah.
So you have that other source of, you know, a provider in your life, or someone that you seek to get that information, or whatever they seek from their son, you can get that from your husband or significant other.
I don't think so, Dom. Because for me, I know how I am. Whether I was a single mother, and I have been a single mother for 5 years while Jason was away. I think, if anything, when I didn't have anyone here, it drove me more to succeed, because now the responsibility was on me harder. I'm the type of person where I would work 5 jobs if I need to give my kids what they need.
Yeah, 100%.
And even like my friend Mumpole, who lives in South Africa, I watched her mum, who was a single mum, work her way through, take her from Soweto, put her through private school, university, master's degree, and she's done that all as a single mom. And so I think that the reality is that we really need to check ourselves as parents, because, you know, what's the goal here? You know, we should be raising our children. I think we spoke about this in some of our parenting things, that what's our goal in raising our children? It's to be great members of society, productive members of society, but also to be great husbands, great wives, great mothers, great fathers. And it's not to stay with us. And I think that we don't transition with that.
Well, some people thrive off that needy.
But you can't parent from insecurity.
Well, some people do. That's the reality.
That's selfish. You're parenting from selfishness.
You're talking from a point when you was like had the kids by yourself, but obviously Ezra was near enough, young, 2, 3 at the time.
Yeah.
But fast forward, say Ezra was 16, 17, and you know you was in that situation. I feel like it could have been a different situation where, if he's working and bringing like a certain percent of his salary comes to the house or something, and it's just like, you know,
that's what I'm saying to you. I know me, and I know that that's not how I would have raised my children. Like, I would very much position myself, and there's lots of single mums that do this, where they position themselves to be that provider and to be independent. And that's what my mindset would always be. That's where I would switch to, right, I need to up my hustle, because there's 3 lives depending on me. And I wouldn't want them, like, I don't know, maybe it's because of the way my mind thinks, but I want my children to be children. And at 16, go buy your trainers, go buy whatever the things that you want, but you're not my husband, and my house is not your responsibility. The reality is, I chose to live in this house. I chose to pay the bills that I pay. If you can contribute to that as adult children, then fantastic. But the onus shouldn't be on you. And I wouldn't look to anyone to keep me, even in my.
But
my husband.
The reality is, there is a lot of people that have emotional baggage and emotional needy dependency. And in that situation, I would say don't set yourself up that you're going to be at odds with whoever later on up the road your child is going to meet somebody. And it's whether it's a son or a daughter. But I think as a parent is to deal with your insecurities and neediness. Your child can't fulfill for you what a partner would fulfill for you. And I think it's unfair to a child to put that need on them. Like you said about that woman where her mum, she's put a need on that daughter.
Because you don't have that.
She's your child. And I think the boundary is, I'm mother, you're my child. Yeah. You're not my spouse. You're not my this or that. And you can have a healthy friendship relationship with your children. But I think it's on the parent. I'm not going to put over on you my insecurities. I'm not, whatever that's going to manifest like, however that's going to look. It's for us as parents to deal with those issues in us that's broken and not put that on the chart, because at the end of the day, you end up losing them.
Well, I think even if you don't lose them, as someone that married someone that was a byproduct of being parented from a very insecure place, from a parenting perspective, Jason's family broke up when he was 7 years old, and he's the only child from both sets of parents, and then they went on and remarried and had their own families, but Jason's the only child that's from both. And I feel like today Jason's going to be 50, and I think that his relationship with his mother would be so much better if she would just parent from a parenting perspective rather than this insecurity. And I think that what it does, and the part that I'm just speaking to, and this is what I want to speak to the people that maybe do parent from that perspective, it causes huge problems in marriages. And ask yourself the question, like, would you really want your son or your daughter to grow old by themselves because of your meddling or your interference or your insecurity? The reality is, all of us have an opportunity to live our lives. We've lived our lives the way we've lived it, but I think it's incredibly selfish to put that on your children and to not care about the aftermath that leaves. And I'm a product of someone that has parented selfishly, and that has impacted, because my husband's a wonderful man, but the aftermath of his mother's insecurity shows daily. And I think that it's just so unfair to put that on your child.
Did you ever watch that movie? I think it had J-Lo and it had Jane Fonda. Monster-in-law.
Yeah.
So the mum didn't want her son to get married. She just wanted to basically keep him for herself.
For no reason.
And she did everything from like feigning like I'm dying. But that's the reality.
It's comical, but it's like that stuff happens in a...
It happens.
A bit of a
whereas like every time it looks like he's getting into a relationship, you start having heart attacks or hospitalization.
That was weird to me.
Yeah, but it's manipulation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's to keep you in the situation you're in.
It's manipulation to keep things.
And it's the fear of the unknown of how will you treat me in that space once you got someone else.
Or the fear of being
alone. Take up your time, and then kids.
Yeah.
Obviously it takes up more time. It's like...
Yeah. Yeah, but let's move on to the next question.
Back. Okay, hold on. Okay, so the next one is... A topic I'd like to see discussed is whether marriage is still a priority, particularly for men.
Go on, Dom.
You can answer first, from a man's perspective.
Is marriage a priority for you?
I'll tell you why marriage is a priority for me. Because who I was before I was married is probably not... Who I am now is very different to who I was before I was married. So it's been her input on all the things I've sort of developed in my characters, the characteristics that have grown and developed is because of a lot of her input that she's had in my life as well. I think if I didn't get married, I definitely wouldn't have the mindset I have now, or probably be where I am now, or have to focus on things that I have now. I think there's traits of hers that I've picked up that has helped me, be it like in terms of organising, in terms of like even just schedule. She has a little diary. I literally open the diary to see what my life is like in the next 2 weeks, because I might try to say, I want to see the guys this day. Like, no, we got this. She plans like 3 months in advance. So if I want to do anything, I have to literally put those things aside. But it's like I've never planned it like further than 2 weeks ahead in my life, as most men are. But I think it's helped me. It's sort of helped me mold myself into, well, as I'm still molding myself, but into the man that I think I'm supposed to be. And I think without that significant other and that having a wife there every day, I don't think I'd have that reminder and, remembering who I need to be as well.
But could you not have had all of that without being married?
Yeah, like a long-term partner.
Yeah, if you were in...
I don't think so. For me, I personally, if it was just a partner, I don't think the seriousness would be there. It may not even, we might not even be together if it was just, I could come and go with the wind.
Yeah.
Or you don't have that, what's the word? It's
that commitment.
It's like that. Yeah. No matter what you're dealing with or going through, you're not going anywhere,
Yeah, it's a lot harder to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, it's not even like, there's too much paperwork. Yeah. It's not even like that, but it's just like, listen, we didn't do this out of just on a whim. Like, sickness and health. This is like for life. It's not like a joke thing. So, like, whatever we go through, yes, there might be times we not talking to each other, but like upset with each other, whatever. And it's just, even now, I just love, even when we have little conflicts, it's like a minute. It's like we'll deal with it, and it's just like brush it under the rug. Like, but whereas like 4 or 5 years ago, it's like a whole thing. Not talking for 2-3 days. It's like, I love the growth in it, where the way we deal with conflict now, it's just like, we wouldn't even call it conflict. It's just like, I didn't like how you done that. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll make a change to that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't have to be this whole not talking.
Growing up.
I think as well that there's something significant, because a lot of people say, it's just a piece of paper, but I don't think it's just a piece of paper. I think that it's very much a priority, and I think it's something that's been very much under attack in this day and age and in this society. And I think that there's been an assignment to belittle marriage because of the significance of it. From a spiritual perspective, obviously, you become one and you become a force. But I think as well that it's a covenant, it's a commitment, it's a step up. And I think that even like the taking of each other's names when you have children, like it's the unity.
It's that umbrella, isn't it? That the children, because you see so many people today. I've come across so many people today, and there's no one has married in their family, so they don't even know what a wedding looks like.
Or if you were to buy a house, for example, and someone said to you, I'm not willing to sign a contract, but you're welcome to live here for the next 25 years. You wouldn't feel very comfortable, and you definitely wouldn't be. You definitely wouldn't be remodeling and putting money into it and things like that, because that's a bad investment. If you enter into any business arrangement without a signed contract in place, it's a poor agreement. It's it's setting yourself up for failure. But I think that, and it's the same with marriage, that when you enter into this, you're saying, right, I'm making a commitment for life, and I'm willing to bet something on it. I'm willing to put my name on the line and sign on the dotted line. And
when you think of that in the materialistic world that we live in, anything of any value or importance, you have to sign on the dotted line. Even if you were to buy an appliance, you're taking out a car, you got to sign. And then we minimize marriage, which is so much more important than buying a car or even buying a property. This is life, you know. You can move several times with the property. You're going to change your car in every 2-3 years or whatever. But marriage goes beyond that. So why do people think then I don't need to sign for that one?
And it's how people value the marriage. For me, marriage is a commitment to invest. So I'm agreeing that I'm willing to, no matter, it's like, it's basically what you're saying. You wouldn't feel secure in putting something like money into something without that protection, you know, that sort of covering worst case, or insurance. There's a reason why we take out insurance, right? It's to protect us as well. So I think it's that marriage is my insurance in the sense of, you know, I'm happy to, I wouldn't drive around my car like all willy-nilly if I didn't have insurance.
Oh, exactly.
I drive like not carelessly. I drive.
Well, you don't even have to be driving. You can drive.
Even just leaving your car on the road.
We were in traffic.
It's insured.
The other day, and standstill traffic, and someone rammed us in the back. You know, if we didn't have insurance, that person actually didn't. They didn't have insurance. But we had insurance, so our car's been repaired. His car is probably still looking the same way because he doesn't have insurance.
If it was still, you could just leave it on the side of the road. There's no commitment to it, you know?
No commitment. You can scrap it.
Exactly. The amount of times you see cars just parked up on the side of the road or whatever. It's just, I think it's just, if you're in it to grow and develop together, then I would 100% say get married.
And I would say to the person, like, if someone was marrying me, not wanting to marry me, and we've been together for 4 years, 5 years, whatever. My question would be, but my question would be like, why not? If it's just a piece of paper, then marry me.
Yeah.
And I think that the true test is for the girls that are like, oh, I don't mind being a long-term partner. If he asked you, would you say yes?
Yeah.
Because the reality is we say it to try and be like, oh, I don't mind. But if he went and asked you,
tell the truth.
If he asked you, you know, marry me in France, Paris, it would be all over your social media. You'd be like, I said yes. So the reality is, you want it. And I think, to be honest, from a man's perspective, it's incredibly selfish. Like, I think most girls, obviously, I don't know in this day and age what girls think, but my day, most girls actually wanted marriage, and want, you know,
so
have a wedding day, and you know, even in Love Is Blind, you know, when they go to try on all their wedding dresses, all of a sudden it was like, you know, all of that, they're probably not gonna last. It's not gonna work.
But it's funny about that as well. If I just add to what I forgot to say about this, you know, it's the little things because they try to rush the process, right? About getting married and all of this. It's funny because you're seeing in the final weeks before the wedding, they're seeing all these things. I think it's the guy that's dating the Muslim girl.
Oh yeah.
So there's things coming up now, and he's like, oh, what was it? I think she's saying about him on his phone or something. There's little things like they're bickering about. He's like, there's gonna be more stuff that comes out like
and
that we
don't. And then one guy said to the girl he wants a prenup.
Yeah, I don't like that woman at all. I don't like that woman at all.
No.
I really hope he doesn't.
I'm like, run!
You know,
like,
run, dude.
I know it's bad to say. Yeah, it is. What? Prenup?
You can have prenup.
It's a contract. You can draw up a contract.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
My kids are all having prenups.
Oh, really?
We can talk about that actually. Should we have prenup? Because all her friends were like, I'm like, what are you talking about? He doesn't even know her. Why wouldn't he do a prenup?
She hasn't got a job.
She doesn't have a job. She lives at home with her parents.
I just met you, really.
But apart from that, like, no, what a prenup does, and just so anyone doesn't understand what a prenup is, it protects everything prior to you coming into the marriage. So for me, with my children, I am not hustling the way I am, working the way I am to pay for your behind. I'm working the way I am to pay for their behinds. So for me, I need to know that if you knock your head, lose your mind, start acting wilding out with my daughter, go sleep with your secretary or whoever else, my kids are covered because their parents done what they needed to do to protect them. So what a prenup does is it basically protects anything prior to marriage.
So whatever you
so
get
it shouldn't affect you either way.
If we build something during, that's ours.
So after, anything after that. So if we buy a property the day after we get married.
So scenario, if you gave your child the deposit for a property.
That's going in the prenup.
Okay, so you've given your child the
going in her name.
deposit, so he didn't have to put anything down.
It's going in her
that
name.
money came from the parent.
Yeah.
And now you find out that they've divorced or separated.
It's coming back to her.
And he's trying to claim half.
No, that's
of
what
that.
I'm saying.
That's what it's a prenup.
His name
it's just
is on
protecting
it.
what you had before.
It's protecting what
it's
you
not
had
saying like
before.
everything I have in
Forever,
marriage is mine, and like, whatever, if we divorce, that I'm taking. It's not that, because whatever it depends if you get to the contract, but it's like, from my understanding, or if I was to do it, it would be what I've made. Especially if you're, you've done well for yourself. You've got a house. He's got his own flat and everything. He's done well for him.
So like some people have businesses. They've obviously got, say for example, they've got capital of like the young guy in this thing. He's got his own property. He runs a business, whatever. So obviously he's established somewhat of a whatever. And all it does, say for example with Micah and Ezra, what I'm planning to do with each of them is that they will each have their own property, whether they rent it or whatever. So all of that basically would be in the prenup. If they had a car, that would be in the prenup. If they had £20,000 in the bank, that would be in the prenup. Whatever it is, and also what is going to come in their will, you can put that in the prenup as well. So you can basically tailor a prenup to meet the need, but basically the prenups are there to protect. And what a lot of people say is, oh well, then are you going in expecting it to fail? No, the same way you don't go in expecting to have a car crash. But the reality is the day that you have a car crash, you're really grateful that you took insurance. And I think that none of us expect to die, but we do life insurance. It's one of those things that you probably will go through your whole life and never use. You might go through your whole entire life and never have a car accident. But the day that you do, it's really good that you've got that in place. And that's how I see a prenup, that it may be something you never have to use, and then that's fantastic. But if you do have to use it, then you're protected.
I think another thing about the show is, sorry, I'm going off the fence, but it's like
everyone's gonna go watch it now.
Yeah,
I've never watched it.
It's an easy watch. Well, it's alright. I only watch it because
I actually fast forward it, so I couldn't tell you. Like I fast forward to the bits where, so I don't actually just sit there and watch it
in and out. But something I realised is like not all cases. But with some cases, with that scenario, a lot of them are older.
Yeah.
I think what I would go into their thinking is there's a lot of things or traits that these people might have that people weren't willing to put up with.
Yeah.
There's got to be something along that line that you're going to be like, oh, that's why.
That's why you're.
You know what I mean? So as I was watching it, I was like, that's.
Oh no, I don't know, because I did think about that. No, but I did think about that, and I thought that, God forbid if anything ever happened to Jason, I just can't see myself, going onto dating websites and doing it that way. And I think something like that would appeal to me if I was to look at dating, because
like that show.
I wouldn't want to get engaged afterwards, but
just
that
how
process,
dating process is now, as you said,
the principle
like
of it, of where
these things are.
Like it takes away some of the scariness of it. I kind of know a bit about you before I've actually made that commitment. Where
do people even meet these days?
Like it's really difficult. And
you
that's
see someone
thing.
that you like, and then she got headphones in. You can't chat to her.
It's a different
noise cancellations.
Well, back
really pretty,
back in the day, people used to talk. So
but even then, it's like, where do you talk? Everyone's literally like, I got on the train on Friday, and everyone's just either in their phones or headphones.
Don't even notice.
If you even talk to someone, it's like, what do you want?
No.
London is so just cold. Like no
London's probably not the easiest.
You got any other country? People like
no, but outside of London, I remember me and your dad. We were in somewhere in the country, and we're walking down the road in this village, and everyone's morning. So we're like looking behind us, like
you say good morning, London.
Oh, they're talking to us.
People take their head. What did you say to me?
I know. If you do that in London, people will look at you like you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
If you say good morning to people, they look like you. They look at you.
Do you think that's sad that we've?
It's very
become
sad.
accustomed to walk past human beings and souls and can't even.
I always say good morning.
It's the world that we live in today.
It's just the overpopulation of people where you just.
I always say good morning.
Like I got into the lift.
To everyone.
So if you get the train, you say good morning to everyone?
Yeah, I say good morning.
What do you think of Alice in Wonderland?
I do. I'm like, good morning.
Well,
skipping
no,
through the train
we
station.
were away for
like,
a few days the other day, and I got into a lift, and it was in the morning, and this other couple were in there, and people just don't talk. I'm like, good morning. All of a sudden, they respond.
I think everyone's not doing it because they think the other person's not going to do it.
It's actually quite sad.
I know, but I think if people started doing it again, I think it would catch on. It's because we've stopped doing it. So it's like weird now for a stranger to talk to you, but that is the way the world, this country used to be. Growing up here, people did that. You'd say good morning just out of courtesy and politeness. You'd say good morning to somebody that you didn't know.
Back to the topic of whether marriage is a priority.
Yes, it is.
For me personally, it is. And like you, Dominic, I think that I would have walked away a long time ago if there was nothing holding me in place. I think a lot of people would. And when the road gets too bumpy, if that commitment's not there, it's like, well, because if you talk to every married couple, there's moments where like, you know what, I can't be bothered with all this. This is tiring. It's too much. But I think, looking at we're planning our 50th anniversary next year, and it's nice to leave that legacy. For me, I want to leave a legacy for my children, my parents, my husband's parents. They married till death did them part, and that was a legacy passed down to me, and I want to have that kind of legacy to pass down to my children. I don't want you all to be, my dad's got some kids over here and I've got half siblings here, there and everywhere, because we made that commitment to each other from such a long time ago. That's it. You don't have any other siblings outside, so this is it. But it's a legacy. We've given you something, and the bar is high, but you've stepped into that, and I'm sure you're all thinking the same thing, that you want to leave that legacy for your children as well. For me, you're not first generation married.
I think what's the end goal for me? I'd love to, me and these look back at how old am I now? So, like 40 years, if I got God willing. 50 years, and I could look what we've built. Look at our legacy. And
you had the pleasure of all seeing your kids marry off one by one.
For me, I'd love to see that you've lived your life. You get to spend time with your partner after your kids have grown. You've left a legacy for your kids. You've left something for them. And you've left your mark on this earth. And what they remember is, that's mum and dad, that's granny and granddad, whatever the title is. You've left that impression. So whatever, there's the small percentage of this population that see both parents in a household. You've implemented you've added your part to that, and it's such a small market now, percentage of the world, that I feel get to see that.
Well, for me, it's I'm really big on imprinting, imprinting onto another generation what you want them to see and grow towards. And for us, it was important to imprint that. And even with the grandkids now, they're seeing that. And even though we're just going about life as normal, they're being imprinted every day. They know Gammy and Granddad's married, Mummy and Daddy's married. It's imprinting. So it will be the most natural thing. I think it would be harder for them to live with somebody outside of marriage, because they've just not known that.
But you know what's
they've
funny
not
as
seen
well?
That.
Even though they
my kids are not living with anyone else.
But even though they don't understand the concept of marriage, even when I hear them pray at night, they'll say like, Auntie Sarah, Uncle Jason. So they put you together. It's like, even though they don't understand, but they know that is your union,
and that's and then my
literally. So they'll say it in family groups when they're praying for each other. So they say Auntie Dantan, Uncle Jerome, or Cammy and Granddad, or Mummy and Daddy.
That imprinting, and it's really important. I was saying to somebody the other day with the kids in church, I said, we're very intentional about imprinting. They don't see anyone else. They're at the front. They see the worship team, and we're imprinting something onto the canvas of their hearts. And I think that's the beauty of building that marriage, building a home, building a family. You get to imprint and draw and paint on the canvas of their hearts. So when they grow up, that picture is going to look, and I'm not saying perfect, but it's going to look amazing. And
I think that's the thing. I think that, you know, it's not saying that marriage is perfect. Marriage is work.
It's work.
It's a commitment. And I don't think there's enough people that talk about the work that is required and the dying of self that's required. And we also understand that there's lots of people that maybe just have really bad marriages, and in those instances, maybe in those times, it is better for the children, for the two people to part ways. I think if you are genuinely both trying and committed, and it's just not working, and it's actually a toxic environment for the child, I think we do need to speak about that a little bit.
Under normal circumstances,
where it's just two individuals that are compatible. That can, you know, like you said, have the odd disagreement or whatever, but, you know, you're committed to this commitment. I think that it's worth it. And, you know, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of people celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, 4 children. Is it 12 grandchildren now?
12.
It's become more of a...
Believing for more still.
Yeah, well, this
will
be...
I'll give
you 2 weeks, Dominic.
2 weeks what?
2 weeks. I believe that there's...
No.
See.
No.
How
much should I
bet on
bet?
it?
Callie.
I'll bet
How much
you.
should I
I'll
bet?
bet you, Mum.
Callie.
How much should I bet?
Everybody.
Callie's coming.
I'm giving
What's
by the end of 2024, Dominic and Kadisha will be pregnant again,
Bet.
and I'm betting £100 online
Bet.
that they will be
Bet.
pregnant again.
Bet.
£100.
Yeah, that?
I think that for every month that it
Cash
goes,
money. I'll gladly take your money.
£100.
And every month I go over another £10, yeah?
£100 by the end of this year, by the
So
close of this year,
I've got
Kadisha
too much
Goodman
going
will
on
be
this year.
pregnant.
Yeah.
How much? I bet you.
Callie.
I bet
Shit,
you.
okay, you ain't seen Callie till what?
Callie
2025,
will
2026.
be conceived by the end of this year.
Mm.
I've
No.
spoken it out.
No. I need a
You
break.
said no to all of them. 4 boys later, he
No.
said no to each one.
No.
So not a good
No.
track record. Just saying,
Fine.
easiest £100
I need
I
them all
ever
in school
made.
before any of that happens.
£100
No.
just made like that.
Oh, watch. Watch. That's not happening.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
Let's,
gonna hang your head
we're
in
gonna
a few
date
weeks.
stamp
No,
this.
Gino.
Date stamp it.
No.
Yeah, be like,
Save it
Mum.
in my phone.
Definitely
Like
not.
what? Oh,
I can't
look
wait
at-
for that
look at the
phone call.
picture.
I just can't wait. I'm gonna be so
Yeah, be like,
gleeful. I'm
we
gonna be so
Yeah, go
are
for
we
Go
are
for it.
expecting.
Just for the record, every time these two go on holiday, they come back pregnant.
That's
Just
not the
saying, just saying.
That's not the
They're
case.
leaving tomorrow, so let's do the calculations.
That's not the case. Listen, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Yep.
No.
Didn't you say that with Cohen?
Yep.
No, we tried for Cohen.
Oui,
'Cause he wanted a girl,
Okay.
and then he's here.
Miko
so-
then.
Miko.
Or was it Case?
What?
Or was it Luca?
Luca, we didn't even know.
This is what I'm
I told you she was
saying.
pregnant with Luca.
So about December, I'll buy you a pregnancy
Nah,
test to let you do
Don't
it.
need it. Not happening.
Oh, dear.
Finally learn a lesson after the 4th time. Yes.
We'll
That's
see.
it. No.
In the middle of buying an 8-bedroom house, mate.
Hey, I'm definitely not. Not
Yeah,
until that house is
that's why you got
finished.
a big house.
You think I could handle that on top of that?
Yep.
No, I'm not doing that.
You
She
lot
actually needs
can
to
do
help there for once. She's always pregnant when we've got housework to do.
Yep, see? There you go. It's a trend.
No.
There's a trend
No.
happening.
She's gonna be on that roof with me doing the tiles.
All right. Do you want the
Yeah.
last one or are we done?
What's the last
yeah, let's see
one?
what the topic is. Otherwise, you might have to
Okay.
pick up next week.
Generational wealth. Big one.
Yeah, it's a bit of
That's a big one. We'll probably
Finances. We
Yeah, I
can do
think
that
that's
next
a-
time.
that-
I
that
think
could
we'll
be a whole
talk
topic.
about
Yeah.
finances on the next one. I think it's a bigger subject than
be good
just
to get
give
someone
it
on
10
as well.
minutes.
Yeah.
So-
Because
That's
then we
true.
can probably bring someone in that can share more on finances. So
Mm.
let's
Yeah.
leave that one.
Yep.
So we'll come back to that one, guys, on finances, generational wealth.
Yeah.
Was there any more?
No, that was it for now. Thank you, guys. Thanks for messaging us.
Thank you.
And if you've got any other topics,
keep sending in
send them
topics.
To us.
Yeah, the more you send, then the more options we have to talk about. So
join us in these conversations and just let us know what you want us to talk about in more depth.
Yeah.
But
thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I look forward to announcing Dominic's pregnancy
in 2026. Thank you. Bye. I'll be £100 richer at the end of this year.